Kate Tolbert here, and today we are talking about real estate agent safety. It's an important topic. It's always been an important topic, but unfortunately we've only been talking about it the last couple weeks, and I think you all know why. We don't need to bring that up, other than it got you here today, and that's what's important, okay? So what we're going to talk about today is a lot of different things. We are shoving a ton of information into a very short period of time. We're only going to be together a little bit over an hour today. So I'm going to go through a lot of information. We are going to hopefully take some questions at the end that you can text in. And if there's anything that I don't answer during the class, please, please, please don't be afraid to reach out to me on social media. Email me, call me. I'm super easy to find thanks to the joy of social media these days. I can't hide. You can find me. So we're going to cover a lot of stuff. We're going to cover everything from what you can do differently in your day-to-day business to even just how you hold yourself and how you act. We're also going to cover some different safety devices that you can carry, which ones require a license, which ones don't, and kind of what the pros and cons are between some of the different ones. So a lot of you know me from the years I've been teaching continuing education classes. I teach mortgage classes. I do short sale classes. I do a lot of different topics. What you probably didn't realize is in my other life, simultaneously, I'm also a firearms instructor, and I grew up shooting all my life. When I was a little kid, my family owned a gun store. So this isn't a foreign topic for me. So hopefully you're going to see that my combination of my hobbies, which is the shooting and the self-defense, and my vocation, which is I'm a broker associate. I'm out there in the streets every day just like you guys with clients. So what I'm bringing you is not just something that I think would work or read in a book that would work. These are things that I do every day in my business. And some of them are things that even I can improve on, because we all know that there is no perfect answer. It really depends on the situation that you're in. And you need to be able to read the situation you're in and decide what your response is going to be. And we're going to give you a lot of different options today. So the first thing that I want to talk about is more of a general tip that's not only in your real estate world, but also coming out of the grocery store. It's the different levels of awareness. So basically the first level, and pretend I have a cell phone in my hand. I don't have it here because it would ring in the middle of this. But basically, you've all seen them. The people that walk out of the grocery store like this, they're playing on their phone. They are completely oblivious to what's around them. You might as well have a big red target on your back because you are what the bad guys are looking for. You are so clueless about your surroundings, they could take your purse right off your shoulder and you wouldn't even know it until you got back home probably. And I'm exaggerating a little, but you know exactly what I'm talking about. When you get in the zone, you don't even realize what's happening around you. That is what we call unaware. Very, very dangerous. The next level is aware. All that means is I see what's happening. I'm walking out of the grocery store. There's a guy sitting on the bench over there, and there's a van over there in the same aisle I'm parked in. No big deal. I'm not making a determination at this point. I'm just aware. And part of being aware, we say have your head on a swivel. Be looking around 360 degrees. Remember, the bad guy could be behind you, so you need to pay attention to that. And use different things to your advantage. Use windows on buildings so you can see the reflection of what's behind you. I drive a black car. When it's clean, which is not very often, but I can actually see a reflection behind me in my car when it's clean. So use anything you can, or don't be afraid to turn around, okay? Even if it looks odd, just do it, know what's around you. The next level is called alert. And alert is just, something's not right, I need to pay more attention. So the guy sitting there on the bench is looking at me just a little bit longer than he should. Or the van is running and it's actually right next to where I'm parked. Okay, that should make you a little nervous. It should make you a little more alert of what's going on. And then the next level is alarm. An alarm is, okay, the guy has gotten up off the bench, he's walking towards me and it looks like he might have a knife. Or the van door just opened and somebody's jumping out of it. Now you're in alarm. You now need to make a decision about what you're going to do. And back in I don't know, probably 4th grade, you learned about a biological response called fight or flight. I'm going to actually add a 3rd F to that, and the 3rd one is freeze. Freeze is the absolute worst thing you can do. Freeze means an attacker is coming and you go, you know, the old deer caught in the headlight, I don't know what to do. So freeze, absolutely the worst option. Don't do it. Do something, some type of energy or motion. The second one is flight, and flight means you run away. And the 3rd one is fight, which means, we all know what fight means. You're going to stay and defend yourself. Now, in nature, animals do different responses, and sometimes it's not always the same. It depends on the situation that we're in. So I would absolutely say that fight is the last thing you want to do for several different reasons. For starters, I bruise really easily. I don't like fights. I'm not that type of person. However, I'm ready to do it if I need to do it. But my number one option is going to be get away anytime that I can. And I take a lot of classes and a lot of training on how to, if I'm in a fight, basically just diffuse the situation long enough to get away. Okay? I'm not a black belt going to sit there and keep beating them until they're in submission. I'm going to hit them and get away. That's my plan. Okay? So when we are in this fight or flight situation, there's a couple of different tips that I want you to keep in mind as well. Out in nature, if you look, in fact, where I live, I have turkeys that live right across the street from me, and they're always in the yard. And a turkey, you might think of this big, huge bird that's on your Thanksgiving table that's coming up, but in reality, a turkey is actually kind of a scrawny bird. But when it's faced with any type of a confrontation, what it does is it puffs up its feathers to look big. And think about in nature, a lot of animals, there's frogs that puff up, there's fish that puff up. What they're doing is trying to look like they're a larger opponent than they first appear to be. So when you are walking through the parking lot, a lot of women especially tend to, if we see something that we don't like, we tend to look down and we tend to crouch our shoulders and look small. We're hoping that we'll look invisible. It's actually the exact opposite. The next time that comes up, I want you to look that person straight in the eye, head up, shoulders back, and I want you to try to look big. I want you to look formidable. And I actually just had somebody on my Facebook page last week that messaged that she did this very thing after coming to one of my classes a couple weeks ago. And somebody approached her in a parking lot of a grocery store, and she puffed up at him, and he turned around and left her alone. 90% of the time, they don't want to fight at all. They're looking for an easy victim. We want to show them that's not us, okay? By the way, guys out there, thank you for coming, because this is just as important for men as it is for women. In fact, the statistics on real estate attacks, it's more often a man than a woman. I don't know why. I have my ideas. I think women probably are a little more careful than men might be. And by the way, for those of you that are in property management, statistically, you are more likely to have an issue than a sales agent. Because property management, you're already working with a different type of clientele. They're probably renting a lot of them because they can't buy. And there's nothing worse than showing a property to somebody and then coming back and pulling their rental application and finding all kinds of felony convictions. You were just at that house with that person. So you need to be extra careful if you're in rentals. But all of us need to be careful. Men, women, sales, rentals, does not matter. Okay? So we talked about fight or flight. A couple other reasons why I always prefer fleeing, getting away from the scene instead of putting up a fight, is because no matter what happens in a fight, if you are in a self-defense situation, odds are basically almost 100% that you will be injured in some way, shape, or form. That could be something as simple as they grabbed your arm and you bruise easily, to they knocked you to the ground, you broke a bone, sprained a knee, did something. Or it could be worse if the attacker has a knife or a gun, then obviously the outcome could be even worse. But not only that, if you're injured, you're going to lose time from work, you're going to lose time from family things, you're going to have medical bills, and even if you are a lawful self-defense situation, you're probably going to still have some attorney's fees that are going to rack up trying to prove that you were acting in self-defense. And if you choose to carry a weapon such as a knife or a gun, that increases even more than that. So we had an attorney actually speak to my shooting group a couple weeks ago, and he said even if you are found completely, like that night they say, yeah, it was self-defense, no problem, you're still probably going to have $2,500 worth of attorney's fees just to keep everything clean, and it could very easily get up to $150,000 or more to defend yourself. And a very good example of that is George Zimmerman. Whether you think he was right or wrong, it does not matter. He was found not guilty, and from what I understand, his attorney's fees are over $2 million already at this point. So anytime you make this movement to defend yourself, you need to realize that there could be financial ramifications as well as physical ramifications if you're injured. Okay? So just keep that in mind. I cannot sit here and tell you exactly what you should and should not do because I'm not there right next to you. You've got to read the situation, and different situations are going to have different levels that you need to respond to them in. But anytime we can get away or avoid, that's always our preference. Okay? So one of the things that I like to say is don't look like a target. So we talked about being distracted on your phone. We talked about looking down and being small. I want you to look big and formidable and, okay, you guys can laugh a little bit. We're going to have some fun today too. I call it the crazy eyes. You got to get some crazy eyes. You've got to show that person that they have picked the wrong person to mess with today. So get big, look them right in the eye. In fact, if somebody's walking towards you in a parking lot and you get that weird feeling, you know, the hair on the back of your neck, something just doesn't feel right, listen to that. But one of the things you can do is as they approach you, I want you to look them right in the eye and go, Bob! Ow, that is so weird. You look just like my neighbor. Now, what that attacker is going to do is, she can identify me. When the police say, what did your attacker look like, ma'am? She's going to say, just like my neighbor Bob. Here's his picture from the last block party we had. So if you recognize them and acknowledge them and actually start talking to them, they're probably going to move on to somebody else. Years ago, somebody went into prisons and they actually interviewed men that were in there for rape, and they asked them, why did you pick one victim over a different one? What time of day was it? Did you have a weapon? What would have made you not attack that person? And the one thing that they said over and over and over again is they were looking for an easy target, and if the person put up any fight whatsoever, they left them alone. They are not looking for a fight, they're looking for an easy target. Now, a small percentage of the people, they are looking for a fight, and those are the ones that you really need to be careful of. It doesn't matter what you do to that small percentage of the attackers. We've all seen it. We've seen tasers right in their chest from the police, and they still keep coming. We've seen 9mm bullets right into the chest, and they still keep coming. A lot of times there's drugs involved, and on those you just need to realize that you are fighting for your life. You need to be ready for that. Okay? Most of the time though, luckily, if you look them in the eye, get big, maybe even sound off a stun gun or something like that, they're probably going to leave you alone. So when I talk about don't look like a target, that also includes having your head on swivel, looking around, being aware of what's around you, and just knowing. Now, next part is kind of a little touchy topic. I hate the saying, oh, the way she was dressed, she was asking for it. However, in our day-to-day business, we need to be aware that sometimes our clothing can make us an easier target. So look around. I'm sure some of you ladies are wearing those cute shoes. My favorite are the Jessica Simpson, the cute little wedgies, but they're like this tall, right? You all know what I'm talking about, and somebody in the room is wearing them. That's fine. They're cute. I have some too. But it's not what I wear when I go show property, because I want you to really think, if you were upstairs and somebody started to attack you, could you run away? Could you run down the stairs, out the front door, and get in your car and leave with those shoes on? But not only that, could you outrun a dog? So we're looking at a lot of different factors of safety today. It's not just somebody beating me up or choking me or trying to rape me or kill me. It's also dogs. I've been in vacant houses that somebody's left a dog there. It's also protecting your clients. Because keep in mind, if I'm showing a mom and her 2 kids a house and I walk them into an unsafe situation, I kind of have responsibility to them and for their safety. And we'll talk about some of the things you can do with that also. So not only is it, could I run away from something, but am I dressed for safety around a property? Right now, Florida has a ton of foreclosures and bank-owned properties and even short sales that are just in bad condition. Over the years, besides being a broker associate working with clients, I also buy and sell properties myself. I've been investing since 1998. And I will tell you, I've been in and out of houses that had high grass, and walking through them, I have gotten cut on metal or broken glass that's just sticking out. You don't even know it's there. I've stepped on roofing nails. If I was wearing little thin-soled shoes, that roofing nail would have gone right into my foot. But luckily, I was wearing thick, like tennis shoes or hiking boots or something that day. So it went in, but it didn't stab me because I was wearing thick shoes. So you've got to be aware of the surroundings that you're going into as well and dress appropriately. Okay? If you deal with a clientele that's a higher level, you can still look totally cute in flats. Okay? They come in cute, cute shoes. So don't look like a target. Pay attention to what you're wearing. Could you run? Could you fight back if you needed to? So let's talk about office security. And my belief is that the office, this feeling of security really needs to trickle down from the office. However, you are an independent contractor. You are an independent agent. So you need to take control of your own safety. If your office has any of these in process, please participate in them. If your office does not have them, do them yourself. You don't have to have the office doing it for it to work. Or become the leader and spearhead it in your office and get it implemented. So some of the things we can do is we can install cameras. In fact, I like a camera right at the front door. So when a client walks into your office, there's a camera. This is not the place for a hidden camera. I want a big old camera with red flashing lights and a sign that says, "Smile, you're on camera." Because a bad guy who walks in to do whatever he's going to do does not want to be on camera. So he's going to see that sign and go, "Oops, I came to the wrong place," and he's going to leave, or he's going to make up a story and leave. Is that going to work with all of the bad guys? No, but it's going to work with a lot of them. By the way, when I say bad guy, I want you to realize that in this day and age, it could just as easily be a bad girl. We're seeing elderly women actually perpetrating crimes because nobody would suspect them. Women with a baby in a stroller because nobody would suspect them. So when I say guy, I'm really meaning everything, not just necessarily the guys. Keep that in mind. Now, if you're on a tight budget, you can buy a dummy camera for like $5 or $10 on the internet that just has a red blinky light, and you can print a sign out on your office copier that says, "Smile, you're on camera." So it doesn't need to be a huge budget. However, for just a couple $100s, you can install a real camera that's recording, and usually they have like a 30-day built-in, like a DVR, just like you have on your TV at home. So very affordable these days. Lock and key access. Do you have push-button locks? Do you have a key to your office? How often does that get changed? If an agent leaves, do you change the locks? But not only your agents, what about the cleaning crew that comes in once a week? What about when one of their employees leaves and maybe they're disgruntled now with their employer? So you've got to pay a lot of attention to the access to the building. Panic buttons at the front, so right under your desk. It can be hooked up to your alarm system that if something happens, they hit the panic button, and then the police are called on that. Another thing that you can do is actually mount a pepper spray canister right underneath the front. So a year and a half ago, there was an agent in Texas that actually got stabbed by her ex. And he came in, it was about 4 o'clock in the afternoon, so it wasn't after hours. He walked right past the front desk all the way to her office at the back and stabbed her. So way back at the front desk, if the receptionist had had a pepper spray, she might have been able to stop that right there. Pepper sprays, seriously, they're like 10 bucks, so it's not a huge investment. And I'm all about the budget. I want to try to get you safe, get your office safe, and get your mindset safe on a very small budget. That's what it's all about. If you want to spend more money, you can, You can get closed circuit TVs that you can watch on your phone and see what's happening. You can do anything you want nowadays. After hours, what is your office policy? Is one agent allowed to be in the office alone at night? For you guys that do property management, the 1st through the 5th of the month, people think you have a lot of cash. You may not. Your office policy may be no cash. In fact, you may direct deposit everything and nobody even brings checks in anymore. However, the general public thinks that you take a lot of cash, so that makes you more of a target. So just keep that in mind. What are the procedures for showing new clients and getting client information? If you don't have an office policy, you should have your own in place, and we'll talk about that a little bit more in a couple minutes. And then an important one is, we call it the red file, yellow file system. And some of you might already be doing this, or your office might have it implemented, but nobody's actually talking about it. Nobody's telling new agents when they come in about it. But basically, a yellow file would mean something's not right, call me back in a couple minutes. And a red file would be, something's definitely not right, please call the police right now. And how that would sound is, hey, this is Andy, I'm out at 123 Main Street. Can you run grab the yellow file off my desk? There's a printout in there I just need something out of. What I really just said is yellow file means caution, something's not right, and I am at 123 Main Street. So the code there might be, whatever your office comes up with, your code might be call me back in 5 minutes, and if I don't answer, then send the police. The red file is, hey, this is Andy. Can you run grab the red file off my desk? It says 123 Main Street on it. What that means is send the police to 123 Main Street right now. I need help. But it's without tipping off the attacker that something's going on. Okay? So that's something that everybody in the office needs to understand. Because even if you have a receptionist that normally answers the phone, sometimes she might have run to the bathroom and somebody else is answering the phone. So everybody in the office needs to understand that system. Now, if the office is not doing it, you can do it yourself. Just get another buddy in the office, and you don't even need to be in the same office. Just get another buddy and the two of you pair up, and if I'm not feeling right, I'm going to call my friend on her cell phone and say, hey, this is Andy. I just need help with one of my red files. Yeah, 123 Main Street. You just gave her the code to call help. Okay? So office is wonderful if they're doing it. If they're not doing it, that doesn't mean that you don't have the opportunity to do it. You're just going to need to take a few extra steps and do it yourself. Fair enough? Okay. The other thing that I like to talk about is when you got hired at your office, somewhere you wrote on a piece of paper who to contact in case of an emergency. One of the challenges is that information is probably locked up in somebody's desk in the Human Resources Department or in the Broker's Department in their office. So if something happens, nobody has access to that information. So have a list of emergency phone contact numbers for your emergency contact and have it somewhere at the front of the office where everybody has access to it just in case something comes up. Okay? That can be very important. And have an attitude of safety in your office. The more pervasive this attitude is, the better it's going to be for everybody. And one of the things that there's been a lot of discussion just over the last few weeks of we should not show property to people that don't come into the office first. Now, the challenge is, if I say you have to come into the office or I can't show you property, they say, fine, then I'll just call the next one in the yellow pages. That's what's gotten us to where we are today. We all need to say, this is our office policy, sorry. I'm not willing to put my life at risk for a commission. And the more we do that, the more we all do it, it's going to become the norm, okay? When's the last time, well, I don't know, go back 20 years. The last time you bought a car, what happened? They asked for your driver's license and made a copy of it before they let you take a test drive, didn't they? Okay? So there is no reason, that is the norm in the car industry. There is no reason that we can't make that the norm in our industry too. We just all need to get on board and all of us do it, and then it'll become the norm in our industry. I've seen a lot of articles lately that aren't talking to real estate professionals, they're talking to the general public. And it says, Mr. and Mrs. Public, the next time you go talk to a realtor about looking at a house, Don't be surprised if they ask for your driver's license and your information, because it's all about our safety. We cannot keep putting ourselves in this unsafe situation. Listen, I'm an agent too. I understand wanting that next commission check. However, that next commission check, not only could there not be a commission, there could actually be a huge expense to you if you're not careful. So we really need to put our own safety sometimes in front of commission. And even if, will you possibly lose real buyers at some time in your lifetime by being stricter on these policies? Yeah, you might. But you're also going to not put yourself in a situation where you lose your life. So you've got to figure out what's more important. Okay? By the way, for you offices and for you brokers out there that are interested in recruiting and adding new agents to your team, an atmosphere of safety could help bring new agents in as well. That could help you in your recruiting efforts, because a lot of times, I will tell you right now especially, there's probably a whole lot of husbands that are telling their wives, you know what, I don't think you need to be in real estate after all. So the more, the attitude of safety in your office can actually help you with recruiting efforts and with retention efforts. So just keep that in mind as well. Little tip. So what can we do differently? And in our day-to-day, we do a lot of things wrong. I will tell you that. Agents have kind of gone down a bad path with what we do. I see it every day. Oh, you want to see the house at 123 Orange Avenue? Great. I'm 15 minutes away. I'll see you there. Click, and they run out the door. And don't say it doesn't happen. Even if you don't do it, I guarantee you there's somebody in your office that does. And in property management, it actually seems to be more pervasive. By the way, when you go to rent an apartment, they want a copy of your driver's license before they'll show you a unit. Just keep that in mind. So in your marketing, I want you to look at your business cards, your website, your magazine advertising, whatever you're doing. And I want you to look at your picture. I don't know if you've read on the case with Beverly Carter and how he said, or why he said he selected her as a victim. She was a rich broker. That was his perception, was she was a rich broker. And sometimes we tend to show that in our marketing. So if you're, okay, glamour shots, you know what I'm talking about. There is no reason that we need a sexy glamour shots on our website, okay? We're not trying to get that kind of business. We're trying to sell real estate, so look professional. And if you're leaning up against your Ferrari that you borrowed, and you're dripping in diamonds and pearls and big jewelry, you're basically putting a target on yourself for a bad guy. You're making yourself look like an attractive target. So normal, professional picture, simple jewelry. In fact, I would almost argue the opposite. If you're leaning against your Ferrari with all your bling bling, some people would say, wow, she must charge too much to be able to afford all that. They would much rather see frugal. Here's my Kia. I save money and I'll save money for you too. I'm just kidding, I'm just kidding. But think about it. What message are you portraying in your marketing? Okay, so be very careful with that. The other thing is a lot of, if you've ever looked at serial killers and when they post the pictures of all their victims, they're usually all a specific type. So they're all blondes or they're all redheads. So by you putting these pictures out there, you're saying, look, I'm a blonde, I'm your type. So be very, very careful with what message you're sending out there. And just a little marketing tip as an aside, if you're going to use a picture on your marketing, make sure that it's current and up to date. For example, if your picture has you as a blonde, but now you're a redhead, your client is going to be expecting a blonde to show up, and the minute you show up as a redhead, subconsciously in the back of their mind, they think you've lied to them. They're expecting a blonde, a redhead showed up, now they distrust you right off the bat. So make sure that your marketing is always kept current to current hairstyles and colors for you ladies that like to change them often. Just a little aside there. Use your cell phone and office address, never a home address on anything. If you do work out of your home, even if you're a home-based broker, please go get a UPS box or a FedEx box or something that gives you an off-site address to use on your marketing. Do not use your home address on anything. It's just asking for trouble. Are you active on social media? A lot of us are. You've got to be really careful on social media that you're not giving out too much information. And I see my friends do it all the time, and I just like go, oh, really? Come to a class. So don't post, here we are getting on the boat for our 1-week cruise to Mexico. You just told everybody your house is empty for a week. Go steal it, do whatever you want, and I won't even know for 6.5 more days. You can accomplish the same thing with sharing what's happening in your life with your friends and family by waiting a week and saying, look, we just got back from a 7-day cruise. It was so much fun. You're still giving the same message, it's just after the fact. I don't post, I'm going to dinner and a movie with a friend, because that says I'm out of the house for 4 hours. What I post is just got back from dinner and a movie with a friend. It was so great catching up. So you can still share the pictures and the fun and what's going on in your life. Just do it after the fact so you're not making yourself vulnerable. Okay, so quick little tips. What can you do when meeting a client for the first time? And this is a super important one, but it's also the one that I know most offices are not doing. So the absolute #1 best thing you can do is have the client come to the office first. They're going to walk in the front door. They're going to see the sign that says, smile, you're on camera. You're going to have them fill out a client information sheet. You're going to get a copy of their driver's license. So right off the bat, if they're up to no good, they're probably already going to make an excuse of why they can't do all these things, and they're going to leave. Okay, oops, I forgot my driver's license at home. I'll bring it next time. Yeah, that's a red flag. That's the hair on the back of your neck. You need to be careful. Okay? So bring them to the office. If you are afraid to ask for a copy of their driver's license, A, get over it. Car dealers and apartments do it. But if you're afraid to ask, just blame it on company policy. I stopped in an office the other day that had a sign right at their front door that said, it's office policy to get a copy of a driver's license before showing properties. This is for the safety of our agents and our clients. So blame it on office policy, or blame it on your insurance policy. Everybody hates insurance companies anyway, right? Yep, our insurance company says we can't show properties unless we get ID from you. Okay, so #1 best choice, bring them to the office. You're bringing them to your turf. You now have the power because they're in your territory. Driver's license and also a copy of their client information sheet. Second choice, because we all understand that's not always practical. I'm not going to have a client drive an hour to come to my office just to turn around and drive an hour back to where they want to see the property. We just know they won't. They'll find somebody else. However, you can meet them in a public place down there. Go to a McDonald's, go to a Starbucks, go wherever you can. And when you walk up to them, hello, I'm Andy. Here's my client information sheet. Please fill it out. Guess what? They can fill it out right on the trunk of the car. Then, you know what we do next? Oh, I just need to text a picture of your driver's license back to the office. Office policy. Get their driver's license, take a picture of it, send it to your office. You can even get a picture of their license plate. Send it back to the office. So all of these, if they are up to no good, these are things that are going to really quickly, yeah, I just remembered I have to go somewhere. They're looking for the easy target. Don't be it. Okay? If you, always tell the office where you're going. That can be a very important one. So what I do when I go out to show property, the report I print is called the appointment sheet or the appointment report out of our MLS, and it just has all the properties I'm going to with basically just the showing instructions and the driving directions. Print 2 copies and hand one to your front desk as you walk out the door and say, here's the houses I'm going to. I should be back by 4 o'clock. If I'm not back, call me. And this is where it's important for your office to all be on board, because you've got to have that other person that's going to actually remember to call you on time. Or just get a buddy, even if they're not in the same office as you, just get somebody to buddy back with and call each other when it's needed. Always tell the office where you're going. And if your client is unwilling to do any of these things we've just talked about, meet you in a public place, come to your office. By the way, the #1 thing, there's probably like 3 or 4 tied for #1 in this one. Pre-qualified by a lender. They're less likely to be an attacker if they've already talked to a lender and given them their social security number and their date of birth and where they work and all of those different things. So it's protecting you as well to know that they're already pre-approved with the lender. And if they say they're cash buyer, great. Office policy is I just need to see proof of funds before I can take you out and show you. Keep this in mind. We're not only protecting our safety, we're protecting our buyers, which we'll talk about in a few minutes, but we're also protecting our sellers. If I bring a totally unqualified person into their home, and that person comes back later and robs them, and they were really just casing the place, that's all me. I brought that person into their home, showed them around, and showed them where the valuables were. So we've got to be careful not only for ourselves, but also for our buyers and also for our listings. For our sellers, we need to protect them as well. Okay? So here's some tips when you're showing vacant houses. Somebody said they read recently you shouldn't have a photo on the business card at all. What do you think? I am totally in agreement, but I've always joked that I've got a face for radio more than TV, so I don't want my ugly mug on somebody on a business card. I'm not a big picture person, but I personally don't believe in a picture on the business card. However, I'm not going to tell you what you should and shouldn't do. Just know that you're creating other risks that somebody might target you because of your looks. And when we ask for a driver's license before we show property, is it okay to do a quick background check online? If you've got the ability to do that, and that's actually one of the things that I'm researching right now, is try to find a very inexpensive or even a free place to do some of these. In your client information sheet, you could probably ask for a release to do that. However, you have to realize that right now a background check usually costs money. So if that's something you're willing to spend the money on, absolutely, as long as they're giving you authorization to do it, that's not a bad idea. Okay? So when we are showing not just vacant houses, but really any house, there's a couple things that traditionally real estate agents do that I think they could do better. And one of them is when you are meeting a client at the house, and I'm talking a client you've already worked with for a while, and most of my clients are referrals, so I know them already. I've probably met them at a party or something from a friend of a friend. That also makes you less likely to be victimized if that would get back to the person that introduced you. However, keep in mind that the majority of rapes are actually somebody you know, so just keep that in mind. But when I get to the house, what most agents do if they're there before the client is they go open the door, turn on lights, open up curtains. We want to show the house and make it look nice and airy. But what if it's the neighbor that's the attacker and sees you go in the house alone and uses that as his opportunity? So wait in the car with the car locked until your clients get there and then go up together. Next thing is most people go straight to the front door, open the door, and bring their client into the house. And then you walk all through the house, and at the end, you walk around the outside. I'm going to ask you to just flip-flop that around. I want you to walk the outside perimeter first. What you're looking for is any signs of forced entry. You're looking for a broken window, a kicked-in door, a broken sliding glass door, anything that might show that somebody is inside the house that you're not expecting to be in there. And you can tell your client why you do it too. Hey, I like to walk around the outside first just to see if there's any signs that somebody's broken in. Because trust me, your lady and her 2 kids do not want to walk in on a stranger in a house either. Nobody wants that. So walk the perimeter first. Then when you do go to the front door after your perimeter walk, open the front door, and whether it's a vacant house or occupied, I very loudly say, "Hello, we're here for our 4 o'clock appointment." So a couple things that I just did there. One, if it's a vacant house, if there was somebody squatting in the back bedroom, legitimately, they're just looking for some place to sleep, I just gave them the chance to crawl out the window and run away. Again, I don't want a confrontation. The other thing is if it's an occupied home, even if you've got an appointment, maybe nobody told the teenage son and he's in the shower. None of us want one of those shower walk-ins when we're showing a house, right? Well, some of you might, but that's a whole other story. We won't go there. So I just announced myself. But if you notice what I said, we're here for our 4 o'clock appointment. Even when I am alone, if I'm previewing houses, I still say we're here. That tells the person in the house that I'm not alone. and my 4 o'clock appointment says people know where I am and they know what time I'm supposed to be here. Okay, so it's just kind of a little message that you're giving them. Okay, now, when you shout that, when you open the front door and say, we're here for our 4 o'clock appointment, shut up and listen and hear if you hear doors close, if you hear ruffling, if you hear windows open and close. If it's a 2-story, you might hear people running around upstairs. You want to be aware, probably you're going to scare them more than if they're legitimately just like camping out, you're going to scare them. Years ago, I went to look at a house over in the Daytona Beach area, and it was one of those houses that's up on piers. You know, it's not on slab. And the code we were given wasn't right, so we couldn't get in. So my husband and I are walking around the outside, and we're just kind of peeking in the windows to see what condition it's in. And I'm 6 foot tall, but the window bottom was like right here. So I'm just peeking in, and my husband was around the other side. We split up. I told you, I don't always make the smartest choices either. And all of a sudden, I'm peeking in the window, and this face goes whoop right in front of me. And I screamed, and Tim came running around the other corner of the building. And luckily, it was just a homeless person that was looking for some place to sleep. There was nothing confrontational. He was actually really friendly and chatted with us for a while. But that could have just as easily gone another way. What if we had walked in on him? And what if he had been asleep and we had woken him up and scared him? People sometimes act differently when they've been startled. What if he was on drugs? Now, I've been in houses before and I've found drug paraphernalia there. I've been in houses, we found a gun in a vacant house once. So what if we had walked in on the person that owned that gun? Literally, maybe we've just missed them by minutes. So you need to be aware of that and be very conscientious of that. So when you shout, hey, we're here for our 4 o'clock, listen and see if you hear anything. Now, if you do find a squatter in the home, you are not the police. It is not your job. If it's not your listing, get out, call the listing agent and tell them what's going on. If it is your listing, still not your job. You are not law enforcement. Call the owner and call the police. And I say call the owner because what if it's the owner's nephew that he gave permission to stay at the house and nobody told you? It'd be really, really bad if you arrested the owner's nephew. So you want to make sure that you're in discussions with your clients at all times. Okay? If you ever feel uneasy at all, whether on a client or the house that you're in, get on the phone, call your office, do the red file, yellow file. If nothing else, get on the phone and call a friend, call your spouse. I've called Tim before and said, hey, just stay on the phone with me for a few minutes. What for? Just stay on the phone with me for a few minutes. And somebody is less likely to attack you if they know that somebody's listening, maybe recording, who knows, okay? And visit houses in the daytime anytime possible. I know sometimes we end up having to go at night just because of schedules. And I am not saying that nighttime is more dangerous, because actually, remember those rapists they interviewed? The #1 time that they named for a rape attack was actually 5:30 a.m. to 8:30 a.m. Morning is more likely. But if you watch TV, we all know that you shouldn't go out at night alone because that's the most dangerous time, especially right now in October, all these horror movies on TV. But the reason that it's not as safe for you at night to show properties, there's a couple reasons. You're not familiar with the house. So if you go into a house with no power, you don't know where the escape routes are, you don't know where the back door is, you might not know about the sunken living room, and you're going to trip if it's in the dark and you're going to hurt yourself. So it's always best to show properties in the daytime if you can. But if not, have a super duper bright flashlight with you. Okay? Another trick that the bad guys sometimes do is they actually will go to the light at your front door, and they'll either untwist the bulb or they'll break the bulb. That's creating a shadow. Their eyes are already adjusted to the darkness. Yours are not. Because you just got out of your car, the light comes on in your car, that messes with your eyes being adjusted to the nighttime. He's sitting there ready. He can see in the dark because he's been sitting there a few minutes. You are basically completely blind at that point. That's a tip at home too. If there should be a front light on and there's not, you should be a little extra careful. So when we're showing properties in general, oh, somebody said mugshots.com. You can type in their name and get their arrest history. Sweet, let's all go look up our neighbors. Mugshots.com, I'm not familiar with it, but I'm being told that it's there and you can pull up somebody's arrest history. So probably not a bad idea. It's better than nothing to check on your clients before you go out with them. When we're showing properties in general, I like to make my client very aware that I'm calling the office. I'm telling them where I am, what time I should be back. That makes them know that somebody knows where I am. Have a system maybe where your office calls you at a specific time to check on you. So if you're going to be out showing houses from 2 to 4, maybe have somebody in your office call you at 3 just to see how things are going. Avoid closed spaces and small rooms. I do not need to walk into the walk-in closet with you. I can stand at the door and say, do the Vanna White, go on in. In fact, I don't even need to be in the bedroom. I can stand in the hallway and say, go on in. Most clients honestly hate it when agents walk around and go, and this is the bathroom, and this is the closet. They're not stupid. They know what a bathroom looks like. They know what a closet looks like. I actually know some agents that just open the front door and just stay at the front. Go ahead and look around. They've probably already seen 100 pictures online anyway. They just want to get a feel for the property and how it's laid out. Especially in vacant houses, let them go. Occupied houses a little different. We want to keep a little closer eye on them. Walk behind your client as they go up hallways. Couple reasons there. If any of you watch MMA or UFC fights, what happens when you give up your back? You probably just lost the fight. Okay? When you give up your back, you've given up all of your power. They now have complete control over you. So if I'm walking down the hallway and my client is following me down the hallway, I can't see what they're doing. They could be pulling out a gun. They could be pulling out a knife. They could be pulling out their duct tape to put over my mouth. I don't know what they're doing. I can't see them. So I want them to walk in front of me so I'm more aware of what's happening. Plus, if something happens, I can turn around and run backwards. I don't want to run further into a house that has no exits. Okay? So just be aware of the layout of the house and the surroundings that are around you. Keep your clients together, and this actually can be difficult. So if we walk in and we're showing a husband and wife or boyfriend, girlfriend a property, or any two people, it doesn't matter, it could be brother, sister, whatever. If one goes that way and one goes that way, what do? You're only one person, you can't follow both of them. So a lot of times it might be just an innocent, they're wandering around. So what you can do is, you know, oh, our company policy and our insurance policy is that we keep you guys together as we're going through a house. Not important in a vacant house, obviously it's more important in an occupied house. But while you're watching this one, that one might be going to see what's in the medicine cabinet or see if they can find the jewelry box. So just say, you know, oh, our company policy is that we stay together when we're showing. Again, blame it on office policy. And if they are a true, legitimate buyer, they're going to go, oh, okay, we're sorry. If they're not, if they're up to no good, they're going to be like, well, we don't want to stay together. And you all know what I'm talking about. Legitimate buyers have no problems with it. Remember I talked about the car dealership where they ask for your driver's license? When you're seriously shopping for a car, like I bought a new car earlier this year, and it's not a case of, what do you need my license for? It's a case of, here's my license, can we go for a test drive now? Because you know that that's what's going to happen. Here's my license, I want to drive it. So we just need to change our outlook on what we're doing and how we act. Okay? If something doesn't feel right, go with your gut feeling. Okay? I know many of you have been to classes before with Andrew Wooten before he passed away, and he used to interview victims after the fact, and he asked them, you know, what could you have done differently? And time again, what they would say is, I knew something wasn't right. I got that gut feeling, or the hair on the back of my head, it just didn't feel right, but I went anyway. That's the number one thing that they say over and over, is I had a bad feeling, but I went anyway. So if you get that bad feeling, call it intuition, call it guts, call it the hair on your neck, whatever it is, listen to it. And people say, well, what if I'm already in the house showing it and I get this bad feeling all of a sudden? What do? I forgot I have a measuring tape in the car. Let me run get it. Oh, I forgot I have a printout of this house out in the car. Let me go get it. Whatever it takes, I don't care. Make up a story and get out. And if it really feels bad, don't even make up a story. Just turn around and disappear. They'll be going, huh? What just happened? But that's okay. Another thing, in fact, I forgot to mention earlier, so let me go ahead and mention it now. We are raised to not be rude. From the time we're little teeny tiny kids, our parents say, don't do that, you're being rude. And in safety purposes, I don't care. So if something doesn't feel right and you feel, oh, but it would be rude if I just left and went to the car. I don't care. It would be rude if I canceled a showing. I don't care. If you truly don't feel right about something, do not go through with it, even if it might look rude, okay? So you have my permission to be rude if the circumstances call for it. Watch their body language. Are they really nervous and fidgety? I mean, truth is, if somebody's just looking for a house to buy, they're going to be, oh, wow, this is a nice fireplace. Oh, I love the granite. They're going to be all laid back. They're not going to be like, and if they're fidgeting with something around their pants or their waist or their pocket, I would be careful that there might be a weapon in there. Which, by the way, you can look, a lot of times a weapon, it's called printing. You can see a weapon if you look closely. It'll either kind of stick out of their shirt or wherever they have it. So look for that as well. Just be aware. Keep your eyes open. If they're very fidgety, or if they keep asking questions about the alarm system. Now, how does this panel work again? How many seconds is the police response time? That's a red flag, guys. Don't be like, oh, response time. I'm out of here if they're asking questions about that. So watch their body language. Make sure to double check that all doors and windows are locked when you leave, because they might be acting totally normal, but what they did is they went to the back bedroom and unlocked one of the windows so they can come back later and rob the place. So again, occupied houses way more important than vacant houses, but run around and check that. And along those lines, okay, how many of you have ever shown a house and you can't get the sliding glass door locked back again? I know I'm not the only one. Sometimes you sit there and you fiddle and you just can't get it locked. Right there, I would pick up my phone, I would call the listing agent and say, I'm out at your listing at 345 Orange Avenue and I can't get the sliding glass door locked back. You might want to have somebody fix it right away. What I've just told the person that's with me, my client, which we all realize might not really be a client, I've just told my client that will be fixed today. Don't bother coming back later to try to use that to get in. So you need to be aware that everything is locked when you leave, okay? Couple other tips when you are holding open houses specifically, because here's what I see as an open house. Open house is you put a big sign on the front of the house that says, I'm here all by myself, come on in. I'm all alone, by myself, come on in, steal the place, rape me, kill me, whatever. So that's kind of what an open house is. That is seen as an opportunity for attackers. So we need to make sure that we're telling them we are not their good opportunity. Go to the other guy up the street. So how we can do that is in our advertisement, whether you do Craigslist or whatever you do for your open houses, you can put on there, security will be present. That's going to turn a lot of them off. You can put right on there, identification will be required to see the house. You can put right on your advertisement that you'll have cameras in use. And when they get there, now there are cute little hidden cameras that you can like set, but in certain instances, I don't like hidden camera. You can get a fake camera for 10 bucks that just sits there and blinks and a sign that says, smile, you're on camera, and take it from open house to open house with you. It's yours, take it with you. That's going to turn off a lot of the bad guys. Bad guys, bad girls, and here's where we actually do see more girls come into play. If you actually are doing an open house at a higher end house that's occupied and has a lot of valuables in it, you could actually hire an off-duty police person to come in and stand guard in their uniform with the police car parked out front. And I had somebody in one of my classes say, but wouldn't having police at the open house turn people off? The answer is yes. The bad guys will be turned off by a policeman at the house. How many of you have ever been showing houses to somebody, and as you turn onto the street, there's a police car parked at one of the houses because they live there? My clients say, oh yay, there's a policeman in the neighborhood, that's nice and safe. If your client says, this could be a problem, that's a sign for you. Real people like police living in the neighborhood. Bad people don't like police in the neighborhood. Same thing with police at an open house. The legitimate buyers are going to have no problem with it. It's the ones that are up to no good, they're going to have a problem with it. So at the open house, use the buddy system. And buddy system could be have a mortgage loan officer come sit with you. Hey, you can pre-qual all the people that walk through. It could be having a title company come sit with you. It could be a home inspector come sit with you. So there's a couple things happening here. One is you're giving them the opportunity to talk about their business as well to people that come in, but you're also getting to know them better. And I'm all about networking, and networking is not showing up to an event, handing out 50 business cards and disappearing. It's getting to know the people you work with. So it's a great opportunity to get to know some of your vendors better. And it also could be a great opportunity for a newer agent in your office. So if you've got a newer agent in your office, you could say, hey, you want to come sit in an open house with me Saturday? I'll be there for 3 hours, and you can see what I do, how I talk to people, how I show the house. And when there's nobody walking through the house, you can pick my brain about anything you want to know about the business and how to be successful in it. So especially some of you that are in offices that you bring in recruits, this is a great opportunity for you to help them get more successful quicker just by being able to pick your brain for a couple hours. Okay? Now, at open houses, what you want to watch out for, it's not the couple that comes in and one goes that way and one goes that way, although that does happen. What you need to be more concerned with is the couple that comes in and they start saying things like cash buyer, have to close this month, relocating, we need to find something by the end of the month, oh, this house is perfect, we love the neighborhood. So you're thinking, you know, dollar signs, cha-ching, cash buyer, loves the neighborhood, must close in 2 weeks, let's talk. And then somebody else comes in the front door, and what you say, you don't want to leave this one because they're a fish on, right? For all you fisher people out there, fish on. Hey, come on in, just sign in, look around, I'll be with you in a minute. And you put your attention back over here. This one is the distractor. That one's the one that's going to look for the drugs and money and cash in the medicine. When I say drugs, I'm talking like, you know, Oxy, the good stuff that has street value. So pay attention to being distracted by something that sounds too good to be true while the real person that's going to go rob the place walks in. And that is where the buddy system can actually help. So I stay talking over here, somebody else walks in, and I go to my buddy, hey buddy, can you go chat with them? And even if it's not an agent, even if it's a mortgage person or a title person, they can still go talk to them. They just can't sell real estate, okay? But they could still hand them a flyer on the sheet. They could still have them sign in. They can still do anything that an unlicensed assistant can do. So just be aware of those roles of what an unlicensed assistant can and can't do, okay? Get there 10 or 15 minutes early. Introduce yourself to the neighbors. Tell them how long you expect to be there, which car is yours. And so if I'm supposed to be there till 4 and I'm in the black car and they come out at 3:30 and the black car's missing, that could be a problem, okay? So ask them to look for anything out of the ordinary. Watch for teams. We talked about that. Lock up your valuables. So keep your phone on you at all times, because that's how you call for an emergency. And check and make sure that you have a strong signal wherever you are. You need to know ahead of time if you're going to have signal problems with your phone. But anything else that you're not using, your purse, your laptop, your iPad, your briefcase, lock them out in the car, in the trunk where they can't be seen. Don't try to hide them in a drawer in the kitchen, because they know that that's probably where it is and they're going to be looking for it. So just leave it locked in the car if you don't need it. Advise your seller to lock up any prescription medicines, cash, or jewelry. Very, very important, because ultimately we're kind of responsible. One of my listings once, I was showing my own listing and I found his wedding ring sitting right on the bathroom counter. So I hid the wedding ring and I texted him and told him where I hid it. But even people who didn't come in with the idea of robbing a place, if something's just sitting there like, please steal me, even a non-criminal sometimes is just going to take that. It's just too tempting. So lock everything up if you don't need it, and make sure you advise your seller to keep things locked up too, even not open houses, even just for regular showings. Okay, remember, we're here to protect our sellers and our buyers that we're working with. So when we let strangers into the car, I love this. So this is by a show of hands, and I want you to look around and see how many people raise their hands. How many of you would pick up a hitchhiker? Nobody? That's what I thought. Because that's stupid and it's dangerous, and we've all seen the horror movies where you pick up the hitchhiker, right? But all we have to do is say, I want to see a house, bing, 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 get in the back seat of my car, I'll drive you anywhere you want. In fact, I would argue, this would be a fun project for somebody, I would argue that you could hitchhike from Florida all the way to California, never sticking your thumb out once, just calling real estate agents, and you could just, poof, poof, poof. You get to California. It might take a while, but I think you could do it if you were like online and you could pull up some Zillow and see who's listing. If anybody wants to try it with me, we'll do a road trip together. Sounds like fun. So we would never pick up a hitchhiker, and yet we do it every day with real estate clients. And that's what I want you to not do. So a couple things with cars. I like to have them follow me in their car. It gives me a little bit of control. But the biggest thing is I want you to be very aware of where you park. Do not pull into the driveway because somebody else could pull in behind you and block you in. Even if it's not your client. Even if my client is in the car with me, like maybe it's one of my friends that I'm showing property to, if I pull in the driveway and somebody else blocks us in, I've just put my client into danger too. So park in the street, ready to leave in an emergency if you need to. What that means is don't park where if I hop in my car to take off, I'm pulling into a dead end or a cul-de-sac. Do the cul-de-sac first and have your car parked so it's pointed towards the out, the exit. And have it parked in the street so in an emergency you could hop in and get out quickly if you needed to. Whether you're property management or sales does not matter. Which actually brings up a lesson I ran into last year at the Florida Realtors meetings in Orlando. I ran into one of my friends who's a property manager, and he's military, so he's not a wimpy guy. And he told me about something he had done that was very stupid. And he actually showed me a picture on his phone. He was meeting a girl to show one of the properties for a rental. He pulled into the driveway, and then when the girl showed up, she didn't show up alone. It was 2 vehicles full of people. One of them pulled up behind him and blocked him in, and the other pulled in right behind them. So he now can't get out, and 8 people get out of these 2 cars. You should be freaking out at this point if 8 people are all of a sudden pouring out of a car. Now, it ended up, it was her cousin and her uncle and her boyfriend. Everybody just wanted to see the place she was going to be moving into. So it was actually very innocent, but it could have also been very dangerous for him. So how you can work around that is if you are meeting somebody at a house, no matter what, will you be coming alone or will anybody else be joining you to see the house? And then they're going to tell you, oh yeah, my parents are coming with me or my boyfriend's coming with me, so at least you know what you're expecting. So if she had said, yeah, there's 8 of us coming, he wouldn't have been caught off guard by it. Okay? So just put ourselves into safe situations. Buddy system to show property, absolutely. Now the challenge is it's a little harder, since we're all really busy these days, it's a little harder to find somebody that can drop everything and go with you. Some of you work as a team with your spouse, that's a great solution. Or see if there's a newer agent in the office who's just sitting around doing nothing and say, you know, hey, you want to go out on a listing appointment with me? And take them with you. It's an educational experience for them too. Let's just see what else we have. If you get to the listing and the combo is open or the door is open, do you still show it? That's something you've got to kind of feel out the situation for yourself. If my client is a policeman and he's in uniform because he just got off work, sure, let's go on in and show it. I'm going to open the door and I'm going to shout out, hey, we're here for our 4 o'clock appointment, and then listen, see if I hear anything. Because I'll tell you, sometimes people just leave the door open. I think we've all seen that. It does happen. So you've got to kind of feel out the situation for yourself. The best answer is no. If something doesn't feel right, get out. In fact, a couple months ago, remember I was talking about when you're on your phone, you're so zoned out, you don't even know what's going on around you? I was listening to a book on tape. I listen to a lot of trainings when I'm in my car. I'm not listening to the radio, I'm listening to educational materials. And it was almost done, and I pulled into my driveway, and I'm sitting there finishing up listening to it, and I was so tuned in on listening that I wasn't paying attention to my surroundings. I'm at home, I'm safe, right? And finally it's over, I turn the car off, and I go to get out, and I look in my rearview mirror, and I see a white van parked behind me. Now, it wasn't behind me blocking me in, but it was kind of right here to the edge of my driveway. And I will tell you, I am a concealed carry permit holder. I do carry a gun with me. I'm an instructor. It's kind of expected. I have to do what I teach, right? And my first inclination was I reached for my gun, and then I said, wait a second, what are you doing? Put the gun in the seat next to me, put the car in reverse, and backed out. Remember, we don't want to fight. We want to get away and avoid it. So I backed out really, really fast and started to drive. And as I drove, I looked up at my front door, and it was one of my neighbors. He was coming over to ask me a question. And I kind of rolled down the window and said, yeah, you should not do that. Not safe in our neighborhood. Because everybody in our neighborhood carries a gun. We live out in the middle of nowhere. But just the fact that I had let myself be so zoned into what I was listening to that I didn't even see or sense him pull up behind me, that's scary. You need to be aware of what's going on around you at all times. And my first thought was fight. Never should be the first thought, and I rethought that really quickly. In fact, I heard an attorney last week say every bullet has 2 attorneys minimum connected to it. The one that's going to prosecute you and the one you have to pay to defend yourself. So you really want to think twice before you use any weapon at all in your business. Okay? If you're showing a home and somebody shows up and wants to see the house and they don't want to leave, again, you've got to totally get a feel for that. If I'm alone, I'm probably going to say, I'm sorry, sir, you didn't have an appointment. I can't show it to you. If I'm with some other clients, I might make a different judgment call. You've got to kind of read the situation. I don't. I say, oh, we're just on our way to another appointment. We have somebody expecting us. I don't have the time. I'm sorry, but we can set an appointment for later. Go ahead and get their phone number, give them your card, whatever, and set an appointment for later. Because they might be a real legitimate buyer. Remember that. But we still want to be safe. Okay? There's another app called Life 360 that uses your phone's GPS to check in. It also tells you recent crimes in the area and sex offenders. So I'm being told there's an app for your phone called Life 360, so check into that. And I know there's tons of apps out there. I just personally am not familiar with all of them, and there's tons of them. And a book called The Gift of Fear addresses following your gut instinct when one perceives danger. So that might be a book. I'll look into it as well. The Gift of Fear, because sometimes that can keep us out of trouble. Good stuff, guys. Thank you. So let's talk for just a couple minutes about different safety devices that you can carry. Which ones need a license, which ones don't. The number one thing I will say is check with your office policy before carrying any type of a weapon at all. I'm not advising you to go against office policy. So check and see what your office policy is. However, I will tell you that I just had an entire office sign up all of their ladies for one of my concealed carry pistol classes coming up. So office policy is awesome. So what we have, starting from the simplest, you've probably heard that you should carry your keys in between your fingers as a defense mechanism. One of the challenges with that, though, is if somebody actually grabbed those keys, you could end up breaking your knuckles with them, and a key is not made for that. There are products on the market that are made for it, something cute like the little kitty. I'll kind of put it against a different background. It's basically just a little metal keychain. Put your fingers through, and it helps with punching. Especially ladies, if we punch, we're going to end up breaking our hand. So you might get off one punch, and then you're out of commission. So hopefully you got them good with that one punch, because there won't be any more. But this is basically a device that helps you with that. They come in all different shapes and sizes. You can get ones that look like a heart attack. You can get ones that look like a doggy. You can get them that look like skull and crossbones, kitties, all kinds of stuff. There's also a product called a Kubotan, which is actually a martial arts item. You do need to have some training on this, but it can be used for punching, poking. Listen, if you're fighting for your life, poke them in the eye, I don't care. Poke wherever you can. but it also works on pressure points. If you remember back when you were a kid, sometimes they would punch each other in the leg and give them dead leg. We're doing kind of the same thing. If they have you in a chokehold, you actually get right here in this tendon, and they can't help it, it'll release their hold. If they have you in a bear hug, just start wailing away on their knuckles. They'll let go. It hurts. Same thing if you're on the ground. You can do it in their ankles or in their feet. Hurts bad. They're usually just a chunk of aluminum, or sometimes I've seen them in wood. It's called a Kubotan. Does need some training. Get on YouTube and watch some videos of how to use them. Another fun thing. This is a brand new product that's kind of popular on the market all of a sudden. Remember the Kubotan? Look familiar? This is called a tactical pen. It still operates in the same manner for poking, punching, pressure points, whatever you want. However, look, it's a pen. It writes. I have friends that actually travel by airplane a lot. They are carrying these, and they have not had one taken away from TSA yet. I won't say you won't, no guarantees, but so far they haven't, because it's a pen. It's an ink pen. So a couple different options there. Those are all keychain self-defense items. Other than the tactical pen, everything is $10 or less, so very affordable. Next thing I want to talk about real quickly, pepper spray. They don't just come in black anymore. They come in all kinds of cute things. But what I want you to keep in mind with pepper spray, it is that. It's made out of peppers. We used to have a product called Mace, which was a tear gas based. Tear gas is not as fast acting. It's not instantaneous. It does not work on animals. The brand name of Mace now is a pepper spray mixture, because pepper spray is instant. It actually, have you ever cut a jalapeno and then accidentally rubbed your eye? It hurts, right? A jalapeno is between 3,000 and 8,000 Scoville heat units, SHUs. That's how they measure the hotness of peppers. The average pepper spray is between 1 million and 3 million SHUs. So it's like that habanero in your eye on steroids. So what you do with this is you spray it directly into the eyes, nose, and mouth. It gets into the mucous membranes. Their eyes slam shut immediately. They cannot help it. It's automatic. And actually, all their little capillaries, their throat starts to close up, and they start coughing and gagging. So listen, if they're blind, I can run away. I am slow and I have a bad knee, but if they're blind, I can run away, okay? So pepper spray. The other thing with pepper spray is it does work on dogs. So way better to spray somebody's dog that's attacking you than to kick them or beat them or shoot them, okay? Yes, they'll be mad that you sprayed their dog with pepper spray, but it's way better than the other alternatives if a dog is truly attacking you. And I've had lots of friends attacked by dogs. It's not pretty if they actually get a hold of you. Other thing with most modern pepper sprays, they come in different formulations. Usually 10 to 18% is what we see. But the other thing is most of them now have a dye in them. So if you spray an attacker in the face, it could be a colored dye, like what's in if you rob a bank, what comes in, you know, the exploding dye. So, no, I didn't attack anybody. Yeah, you got blue stuff all over your face. Or it could be invisible and it only shows up under a black light. But again, it helps to identify your attacker. Really, the only difference, you can get them in hard case ones or soft case ones. People always talk about the soft case. Yeah, but you have to snap it open. This is what I have on my keychain right here. When I'm walking out of the store, I open the snap, I turn it where it needs to be, I unlock the little safety lock, and I walk out of the grocery store like this. My keys are hanging off of it. I can push my shopping cart. I can do whatever I want. And if I need it, it's ready. Couple tricks with pepper spray. These little ones only have a little bit in them. They're ½ ounce. They have usually 7 to 9 half-second bursts. So if you hold it down and just missed, you're in trouble. What you want to do is Z. You want to get their face, eyes, nose, and mouth. So do like a Z motion and you're more likely to get them. Some people say a circular. Whatever's easiest for you, just don't hold it still. And if there's multiple attackers, you're going to have to get them all with one squirt, okay? If you've ever used it, get a new one. They're like 10 bucks. They're cheap. You don't know how much is left in there. Other thing most people don't realize is pepper spray does expire. 2 to 4 years is the average formulation. In Florida, with the heat that we have, we recommend no more than 2 years. So if you've had one for more than 2 years, go buy a new one. They're $10. It's not worth it. Okay, so we talked about pepper spray. Now we're going to talk about a fun one. We're going to talk about personal alarms. And they come in all different shapes and sizes. I have a whole bag of tricks down here. It's fun. So what a personal alarm does is just makes a ton of noise. Okay? Gets people's attention. If you have a kid in public school, they are zero tolerance on any of the other things. This is about all they can get away with. Some of them you pull the pin, some of them you push a button. Yes, they're really loud. And this one actually I love for real estate agents. What you do is you set the alarm and you hang it on the doorknob. And it has a few seconds where you have time to set it before it's active. But what you do is while you're showing the house, hang it on the doorknob. Any motion will actually set it off. It's a motion sensor. So great for when you're showing houses, great for when you're traveling in hotels, not so great on cruise ships when they start rolling around at night. So not so good on cruise ships. Again, most personal alarms, depending on the style, they're under $20. Very, very affordable. A lot of them are $10 or less. So please, please, please don't cheap out here. And then the last, well, second to last thing, and I know we're just about out of time. If you guys have any questions on any items or what would work for you given your lifestyle, if you have any questions about where to get these products, you need help with them, they're not so easy to find. They don't have them at your local store. Please, please, please call me, find me on Facebook, or look me up on my website, which is Femme Defenses. That's F-E-M-M-E, defenses.com. So Femme Defenses. Okay, stun guns. Basically, all stun guns have some kind of a light built in. It's not real bright, but they have a little metal contact there that actually arcs. These do not make people down on the floor twitching. That's TV and movies. What they do a lot of times is just if the attacker's coming at me, I get big, I get the crazy eyes, and I go. That's usually enough to make them turn around and walk away. Okay? They don't want to fight. They definitely don't want to fight with a weapon. If they do keep coming, then you need to touch it to them, and it works. Have you ever tried to plug something in the wall and you accidentally touch the metal and your body like jumps back from it? That's our natural reaction. That's what's going to happen here. When you hit them with it, they're going to jump back. We call it stun and run because that's time for us to get away. Okay? They come in all kinds of shapes and sizes, everything from cute little keychain ones with built-in chargers so you don't lose a cord, to this is actually my favorite one. This is all aluminum, so if it comes right down to it, just beat them over the head with it. But it is a super bright, it's 320 lumens, has high, it has low, it has strobe. Even if you carry, just go buy a flashlight that has a strobe feature and it's really bright. If you shine a strobe straight into somebody's eyes, it actually messes with them and it affects their equilibrium, okay? And it's blinding if you shine it straight in your eyes. But as an added bonus, it's got a stun gun built in too. There are tons of different ones on the market that you can get. They're basically a stun gun flashlight. They range anywhere from probably $20 or $25 up to $100. What you want to look for, I don't like the plasticky ones. I like the aluminum because you can use it as a weapon if it comes down to it. But you can be walking through a house with a client. It's not weird for you to have a flashlight in your hand. In fact, it's normal because a lot of our houses don't have electricity. But you've got your weapon right in your hand. Look for one that has a car charger because I know real estate agents were never near a wall. So look for one that has a car charger attachment. And the last thing that I want to talk about is carrying a gun. And this is something that I really, really, really want you to think about. I am not saying I want you to consider it. I do not push it on anyone. I am an instructor. If you want help, I can help you find an instructor in your area. But if you want to learn how to shoot, and if you make the decision to carry a gun, train, 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 train. The class you take to get your license is not enough to make you ready to carry a gun on a day-to-day basis. And if you are not 100% ready to pull the trigger if you ever needed to, don't carry it. You cannot flash it at somebody and hope that it'll scare them away, because if it doesn't and they take it away, you have bigger problems. So you need to be ready. How many of you, other than your 14 hours you have to take, how many of you have taken some type of a class since you got your real estate license? Okay, probably a lot of you. And yet you take one 3-hour class, get a gun license, and never take another class again. You've got to constantly be training. I am an NRA certified instructor, and I still take 5 or 6 classes a year to further my education and further my skill and ability with the handgun. You also need to check with your office on what the office policy is on that, because it's a big decision. And there actually are insurance policies that you can get that will actually defend you if you ever have to use your gun in a self-defense situation. So you can look into those as well. Let's just look real quick. I got 2 questions left. Maybe, let's see. First one for fingers. Oh, the first one for fingers, where do we get it? Follow up with me on Facebook, and we can, I'm assuming you're talking about the cute little kitty cat. Isn't it cute? Follow up with me on Facebook. I can point you to some local places, or I can help you find them. And if someone has a grip on you and you have no weapons, you can also grab their little finger and bend it. Yeah. The other thing that I strongly recommend is taking a self-defense. My recommendation is Krav Maga. That is spelled K-R-A-V, as in Victor, Maga, M-A-G-A. Krav Maga is the Israeli martial arts. It's what the IDF is trained in. Doesn't matter if you are big, small, old, young, male, or female, it works. So you can be little lady with a big attacker, it works. And it's just a few very simple moves that you can use all the time that work 100% of the time, no matter the situation. So chokehold, you learn exactly how to get out of that. Somebody's grabbed your wrist, you learn exactly how to get out of that. So look for a Krav Maga class or instructor in your area and go take some classes. And I will tell you, even though I am carrying a concealed weapon at all times, there are some times that I'm not. I can't carry it into schools, I can't carry it into concerts, I can't carry it into the courthouse, I can't carry it into the post office. Or even if I've got it in my waistband, if somebody comes up in an ATM and grabs me around the throat, it's not in my hand. You've got to know a few simple moves to get out of these grabs so that you can back up and pull your pepper spray or your gun or whatever your secondary weapon is. Remember, it's all about getting away. None of us want to fight. I train very, very hard, and I hope to never have to use any of it. And I hope the same thing for you guys. So I want to thank everybody today for tuning in. If you have any more questions on the products or where to get them or training for handguns, please, please, please reach out to me on Facebook or go to femdefenses.com. And any of you that have dealt with me before, you know I'm real good about answering questions. I'm just a little busy right now with this topic, unfortunately. It's keeping me super busy, so it might take a day or 2 to get back to you. But thank you for tuning in, and thanks to Dan Elzer from the Training Academy for letting us use his wonderful facility here today to get this message out to you. And thanks to Florida Realtors for putting it together.